Felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes. You know, we always used to think.
I don't think the economy is in a good. You can't afford. You can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits, and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause. It'll cause. Well, the UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million. That's 12 million people.
You met recently with Nigel Farage, didn't you?
I did.
Do you think that they would be a kind of a good government if they were to win the next election?
I think Nigel is an intelligent man, and I think he's got good intentions, but in a way you could say exactly the same about Keir.
We're on the same side, bro. No, we're not. Yes, we are, bro. Bro.
Is that? No, it's working. Now it's working. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? What an absolute nightmare. Oh my god. Just for some reason it glitched. It wasn't showing up in the thing. This is, maybe I should invest in a producer. But can you hear me now? I think there's the bars. Oh my god, thank God. Thank God. I'm so sorry about that. Oh my god. So, yeah, I'll start again. I've just been chatting into the ether. Nobody can hear anything for like ages. Oh my god, I'm such a monk. Anyway, I'm really sorry about that. Thanks for sticking with me. So I was just saying, like, this week has been a crazy week. So this week I'm going to cover Jim Ratcliffe, one of the billionaires coming to save us. He's not the only one. Duncan Bannatyne has jumped on as well. We've got Open Borders Liberals rediscovering borders and enforcing borders in their areas. We've got Starmer saying that I don't exist. People like me and you don't exist. We've got a school punishing a child for refusing to partake in a Ramadan celebration, even though the child isn't Muslim. So why would the child partake in a Ramadan celebration? You wouldn't force, Easter or Christmas on people who don't want it. Mizzy is back. You remember Mizzy, the annoying scrote who went on Piers Morgan, and just to be less annoying by comparison. Bangor University in Wales has cancelled. Well, their debating society has cancelled reform. We've got a trans school shooter, with the authorities struggling over the pronouns as usual. That seems to be the priority whenever there's a trans school shooting. And we've got some anti-white racism from politicians. But let's kick things off with the billionaires coming to save us. Not just Elon Musk. Yesterday, Jim Ratcliffe, who's a British businessman worth £14 billion and a part owner of Manchester United Football Club, spoke out against mass immigration. Take a look at this.
Go and do this in other schools across Wales to make sure that...
Here we go.
I don't think the economy's in a good... You can't afford... you can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause... It'll cause... Well, the UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million. That's 12 million people.
You met recently with Nigel Farage, didn't you?
I did.
Do you think that they would be a kind of a good government if they were to win the next election?
I think Nigel is an intelligent man, and I think he's got good intentions, but in a way you could say exactly the same about Keir.
So he's actually quite complimentary about Keir Starmer there, says he's an intelligent man with good intentions. He's also said, Keir's nice, but maybe too nice. And he's been criticised for getting his numbers are a bit off. Like, it wasn't 58 million in 2019, it was 58 million maybe 15, 20 years ago. But we have seen an insane rise in immigration. And it's, it's mass, uncontrolled immigration. It's not just, the best people from the most civilised countries. It's everybody, some of the worst people from the worst countries, medieval, barbaric, misogynistic, homophobic cultures coming here, and they know that there's no checks and balances. We've got laws that are designed for British people, so they're just going around. Some of them going around like this week. There's a 12-year-old girl snatched off some swings and abducted and raped. That's a life-changing crime. And she's 12 years old, taken by this Afghan asylum seeker, who displayed no remorse whatsoever. This is the stuff we're talking about. And looking at videos of large Islamist takeovers of London streets, it looks like Sir Jim has a point. Look at this.
There's no need for that. We're on the same side, bro. No, we're not. Yes, we are, bro.
So that was Islamists taking to the streets to oppose a UKIP march that was going to go through London, and way more Islamists came out than the native protest, and they look way more aggressive. They're all dressed in black, they're masked, they look like they're ready for a scrap. And you got to wonder, as the numbers get bigger, and the authorities do nothing to clamp down on it or bring the aggression down. What's going to happen? What's going to be the flashpoint for those guys who are taking to the street to just, embark on a rampage, embark on a pogrom? So I think Jim Ratcliffe has definitely got a point, you know? And incredibly, Duncan Bannatyne, another rich guy, has weighed in. So he retweeted Steve Laws, yeah, that's Steve Laws, who'd posted saying, the more millionaires and billionaires that speak out, the stronger our voice becomes. And Duncan Bannatyne retweeted this and said, agreed. Boom. And for that reason, Duncan, I'm in. I mean, this is going to cause some friction with Deborah Meaden, isn't it? Deborah Meaden is all like, come on in, guys. From the Horn of Africa, come on in, guys. I can't help but think that, you know, a lot of white liberal women, not singling out Deborah Meaden in particular, want these guys here because they've cucked their men. They've cucked Western left-wing men to request, you know. now, if you're making out with a Western man, they're going to be like, would you consent if I touched you on the elbow here? Would you sign this consent form? And I think some of the women miss, you know, some of the manliness. They miss a man taking charge. And, you know, I'm not saying Deborah Meaden's like, come on in, boys. Come on in. No, I'm not saying that. But, you know, maybe across all the women, maybe that plays a part, this sort of psychosexual need. You know, they see these aggressive men from misogynist cultures and it gets their fannies frothing, you know? Gets them going a bit like, oh my God, look what they did. Look what they did to these girls. Maybe they'll do that to me. Who knows? Who knows? It's just a theory. And it's interesting, I can't help but notice that some of these angry comments by billionaires are coming right after people had to pay their taxes. I think nothing focuses your mind on what your taxes are being used for more than having to pay your taxes. But we've also seen, you know, Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, another billionaire, say pretty much the same thing. I'll show that video in a moment. But first, how are lefties taking Jim Ratcliffe's comments? Well, let's have a look at some of their comments. Here we go. Here is Keir Starmer. Let's just bring this up. So Keir Starmer says, offensive and wrong. Britain is a proud, tolerant and diverse country. Jim Ratcliffe should apologise. I mean, unfortunately for Keir, Jim Ratcliffe isn't working class, so Keir can't throw him in jail for 32 months. But it's notable that Keir doesn't say that Jim has said anything incorrect. He says it's offensive and wrong, like the wrong thing to say. Like Keir, as a prosecutor, as a bureaucrat, believes that words are everything, and reality bends to these words. Like, so for example, when Labour were running for election, Keir said, we're going for growth. But Labour didn't do anything to actually stimulate that growth. They didn't cut benefits to sort of force people into the workforce. They didn't cut taxes to increase people's wealth and increase spending in the economy. They did nothing. They thought that just saying the words was enough. Like when you're a prosecutor, when everything's based around legislation, everything you do is based around legislation, you think the words are everything. And here he is criticising Jim Ratcliffe for saying the bad words. He doesn't say it's untrue, he just says it's the wrong opinion to have. And he says that Britain is a proud, tolerant and diverse country. I hear this a lot, but I don't think you get to decide here. Yes, Britain is a tolerant country, but, you know, is that a good thing? It really depends what you're tolerating. And we shouldn't tolerate absolutely anything. We shouldn't tolerate grooming gangs anymore. Tolerance is only a virtue if the thing you're tolerating is good. If you're tolerating hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants exploiting our idiotic asylum system to come here and claim benefits and assault children, then it's not a good thing to be tolerant of that. And also, if it's wrong, why do the left claim that colonisation of the UK, of Britain, is happening? And they claim it's a good thing. Like, look at this poem on the London Underground. Let's bring this up. So here we go. This is a poem in the London Underground called Colonisation in Reverse. What a joyful news. Oh, it's written in patois. Oh my God. What a joyful news, Miss Matty. I feel like me heart gwine birds. Jamaica people colonising England in reverse. By the 100, by the 1,000. From country, I'm not meaning to sound racist, by the way. From country and from town, by the shipload, by the plane load, Jamaica is England bound. Dem a pour outta Jamaica. Do you think I'll get a job doing the Lilt advert? Everybody future plan is fi get a big time job and settle in the motherland. What a island, what a people, man and woman, old and young, just pack them bag and baggage and turn history upside down. So, it's good. When the left say it's happening, it's a good thing. When the right say it's happening, then they're lying. It's bad, it's the wrong opinion because they say it's a bad thing. And Narinder Kaur, who's a race commentator, mostly famous for accidentally showing the world her growler, she said, "It never ceases to amaze me the audacity of men like Jim Ratcliffe being worried about being colonised after Britain colonised half the world and pillaged all their wealth. Like, STFU and sit down, you hypocrite. Maybe it's the world's turn." So Narinder Kaur is just openly admitting that it's revenge. There's no pretense that this reverse colonisation is good for Britain. It's apparently our turn. It's our turn to be colonised by the world. It's revenge for our supposed colonial sins. Although when Britain colonised the world, we brought technology, sanitation, medicine, railways, democracy, things that materially improved people's lives. And when decolonisation happened and the British Empire left countries like Zimbabwe, for example, it was quite often bad for the people who are no longer colonised. Loads of people starved. Narinder Kaur, honestly. She says, you know, Britain pillaged all their wealth. That's a nonsense. Like the value of iron ore. All right, Britain did take iron ore from places, but the value in the iron ore isn't the ore itself. The value in the iron ore is when you take that and you use your incredible technological advancement to turn that iron ore into a microwave or a gun or a satellite that goes into space and brings internet to Zimbabwe. That's where the wealth comes. When, like, we just took the iron ore. We didn't take the wealth. We created the wealth. Let's look at what Maria Lafleur-Stroup says. Do you remember Maria Lafleur-Stroup? She, like in the 90s, she was like the sort of the thinking man's totty, posh totty, and now she's, you know, like all celebrities, like Richard Bacon, like all of them, she's a left-wing virtue signaler on Twitter. So she says, "It never ceases to amaze me the audacity." Oh no, that's Narinder. Sorry, this is Maria Lafleur-Stroup. "So tired of tax exile billionaires telling us what Britain is or should be. Pay your tax and then you earn a voice. Tax for good, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Britain has been colonised by immigrants." Tax for good, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Britain has been colonised by immigrants. Oh, she's quoting the article. So I thought she was just saying, oh yeah, it's true. So Maria Lafleur-Stroup is saying she's sick of tax exile billionaires telling us what Britain should be. Tax exile billionaires commenting on Britain because apparently they've left Britain, so they don't get a voice. But Mariella is a diversity exile. Mariella lives in Bruton in Somerset, which is 96% white. Like, I'm so tired of diversity exiles telling us to accept mass immigration. If Mariella loves migrants so much, why doesn't she live near the migrants? She's scoring virtue points by condemning working class girls from the comfort of her posh, ethnically homogenous enclave. She knows there's not going to be a migrant hotel opened in Bruton. She knows it's going to be in Rotherham or Nuneaton or somewhere like that. It's going to be somewhere like that. And it's going to be somebody else's kids that it happens to. Mariella will be unconcerned. So she can say all the nice things. Oh, of course we should welcome these men in. Of course we should welcome these men in. Well, why don't we welcome them into Bruton, Mariella? And Stella Creasy got stuck in as well. Let's bring this up. Here we go. So Stella Creasy says, Stella Creasy, by the way, she's one of these identikit Labour women. Like, I don't know what she does. I've no idea what she does. I just know there's a million of them. There's a million women like this in Labour, like Jess Phillips, all the rest of it. They've got a factory making them. Like these women with short hair that should be in middle management at a council HR department somewhere, like playing at being important, going to meetings and sending emails, you know, dressing up in their little Hillary Clinton power suit and strutting around the offices, the nice warm offices, probably asking people to turn the thermostat up 3 degrees, you know, because who cares, the taxpayers paying for that heating. But instead someone saw fit to give all these people positions of power. I think it was Blair. I think it was Tony Blair. Anyway, she said, she weighed in on Jim Ratcliffe. She said, without immigrants, Manchester United's starting lineup last night would have been 3 players and the bench would have consisted of just 2. Ratcliffe doesn't seem to understand the contribution they make to his own team, let alone this country. But then, as he is an immigrant himself, being resident of Monaco rather than Manchester, there's obviously a lot of things he's not thought about. So Stella is saying, how can you say immigration is too high when an entire English football team is immigrants? I mean, what? That's literally, you know, like, that shows. The football team's been colonised as well. You know, and also, nobody's got a problem with the football players coming here because they're millionaires, you know? The people who play for Manchester United came here properly. Their papers are in order. They followed the proper channels. They didn't just rock up and start claiming benefits and then head down the local school playground. Well, maybe football players used to be a bit like that. The football players pay tax. They're invited here and they contribute. Nobody has got a problem with that. Like most of the people in Britain who are condemned as evil racists, you know, people like me, are actually fine with immigration. I'm fine with I'm fine with pretty high levels of immigration, just, you know, from civilized cultures. And just immigrants that follow the proper processes and get jobs and contribute. You know what I mean? Like, if there was some sort of dividend that British people enjoyed from it, that people would be a lot more relaxed about it. If it was, you know, if it was guys from like Korea and Japan and France, and I mean, you know, France, not New France, people would be like absolutely fine with it. These guys are going to fit in. They're essentially, you know, they're Western. They're like us. That's all people care about. Nobody's like furious because a Japanese person moved in down the street, you know? Like, it's a nonsense. And the number one thing that makes someone British, if we're going to talk about British values, it's not tolerance, diversity and stuff. The number one thing that makes someone British is the ability to form a queue. If your first act on entering this country is skipping a queue, ignoring a queue, and just rocking up, just crossing in, just cutting straight in, you've already shown that you're completely incompatible with Britain. And other people have slammed Jim Ratcliffe for living abroad in the tax haven of Monaco instead of contributing to the British Exchequer. But isn't it sad that Britain's tax regime is so onerous that it's forcing billionaires to leave? Apparently Jim Ratcliffe saved £4 billion by moving to Monaco. That's nuts. Like, we shouldn't be taking that much money off people. If billionaires paid a sensible amount of tax here in Britain, I'm sure Jim Ratcliffe would prefer to live in his homeland. You know, and also we're told, the left tells us we need to have insanely high levels of tax to pay for all the public services. But I've seen pictures of Monaco. It looks like it's got excellent public services. It looks very clean and tidy, very well looked after. So, you know, how come Monaco, with its low levels of tax, can afford better public services than Britain? And honestly, in Britain, things like the NHS are almost becoming irrelevant for a lot of working people. Like a lot of people who've got a job have health insurance with their job. Like, our health services sort of moved on to a private system, like how the Chinese economy moved from a state-controlled system where, you know, everybody was assigned a job by the central government, and, you know, gradually moved to the private sector. The same thing is happening. We're gradually all moving off the NHS, which is, you know, becoming a last resort for people. Like, if you don't mind waiting 3 years for your operation, you can go with the NHS. But most people would rather either, you know, use their private medical care, or, you know, just pay up front for the operation. And even migrants get private healthcare. There was a hilarious moment, I think it was in Altrincham, where a migrant hotel was being opened, and an MP, I think it was a Tory MP, stood in front of the angry residents at a meeting, and one of the residents said, "I'm worried that this is going to impact the health service in this area. I've been waiting for a hip replacement for months and months." And the MP was like, "Oh, don't worry, all the migrants are getting private healthcare." I mean, like, you know what I mean? Oh, paid for by you, by the way, you know? And Larry Fink, while we're talking about billionaires speaking out against mass immigration, Larry Fink, who's the boss of BlackRock, one of the biggest investment firms in the world, handles billions, if not trillions of dollars, and is you know, a pretty lefty guy. Usually a total absolute lefty fanny. Like, BlackRock is probably responsible more than any other organization for pushing DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion at work, via its ESG funds, which, you know, look to invest in socially good, noble things, which mean, you know, yeah, if you tick all the boxes on this DEI form, then, you know, you get access to this funding. So then all the companies push DEI at work, and you all have to sit through these boring presentations about diversity, and you all have to, you know, fill in forms and stuff like that. Well, let's see what he's saying about mass immigration now. Let's have a look at this. Wait, that's not it. Why is it skipping forward? What is it doing? Why is it going? Why did it skip forward? Here we go. Right. Here we go.
I think shrinking population is a cause for negative growth. But in my conversations with the leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in, shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics, these countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have.
Wow, so that's interesting. That's interesting. He's saying, like, xenophobic countries are actually going to be. He's saying that xenophobic countries are actually going to be at an advantage as the economy moves to automation and robotics. And it's true, mass immigration is the same economics as slavery. Instead of investing in automation and robotics and technology to increase productivity, companies fall back on the easy palliative of hiring more unskilled workers. And that might work in the short term, but in the long term, you need to invest in technology to increase productivity. So mass immigration is really holding back economic progress. And you can see countries like Japan leaping ahead when it comes to robotics. And countries like Britain that have open borders, you know, how's a company like Ocado that, you know, invests in these capital-intensive, automated robotic processes? How's it supposed to compete with just guys that have just come off a boat and will work for pennies? You know, it's a nonsense. I got to be honest, I think the current wave of anti-immigration sentiment is only being permitted by the elites that control everything because they recognise that robots are on their way. Anyway, in the last hour or so, Ratcliffe has apologised. Unfortunately, he's just issued the following statement. He says, "I'm sorry that my choice of language has offended some people in the UK and Europe and caused concern, but it is important to raise the issue of controlled and well-managed immigration that supports economic growth. My comments were made while answering questions about UK policy at the European Industry Summit in Antwerp, where I was discussing the importance of economic growth, jobs, skills and manufacturing in the UK. My intention was to stress that government must manage migration alongside investment in skills, industry and jobs so that long-term prosperity is shared by everyone. It is critical that we maintain an open debate on the challenges facing the UK." But look, it doesn't matter that he's apologised. He's put the issue out there. He's showing that there's support, you know, at the top level, at the guys who fund political parties. Is he going to fund reform? Who knows? Who knows? It sounds like a big check might be coming Nigel Farage's way. I hope so. I hope so. I think it's great. I think it's great. Well done to Jim Ratcliffe. Well done to Duncan Bannatyne. For that reason, Duncan, I'm in. I'm in. Okay. In Anglo Welsh Dragon 4179 says so my mic went down at the start. That happened to the director of my choir last week. Half an hour of dead air. Oh my God. I mean, could have been worse. You could have heard the singing. No, choirs are great. Sorry. Choirs are great. Welsh choirs. I used to have a joke about, like, because Maggie Thatcher came and closed the coal mines in Scotland. And, you know, as a result, I didn't get to play in a brass band or be in a choir. It's an acquired taste. Anyway, what am I talking about? Let's move on to the next thing. So, this is still in the theme of borders, by the way. So, Donald Trump has been trying to control borders and control who comes in and out of those borders. He's got a Department of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, that goes around and gets people who've entered America illegally and turns them around. And Liberals have been protesting against ICE, and in doing so, they've accidentally created their own border control. Have a look at this. Let's pull this up.
I don't think.
Honestly, this is so funny. This is so funny.
Place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
In the middle of the road at 32nd and Cedar Avenue, a makeshift roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout. Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much.
How did it make you feel just seeing a community checkpoint in your neighborhood?
Well, you know, it felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes has been standing at this corner twice a day for one reason: to stand up against ICE activity and keep his community safe. He chose this corner. Others chose this intersection.
It's kind of inspiring. It's like, wow, okay. We've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us. That's good.
But Minneapolis police stepped in, clearing the roadblock and restoring flow of traffic.
Honestly, I'm kind of sad about it.
Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe. So
That's so funny. Let's listen to what she says at the start again. Like, it's necessary to keep people safe. And look what she says.
we are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
We are literally creating a place where we know who's coming going out of our neighborhood. That's exactly what ICE are doing. If only this person could see that the entire country is an area that people care about and where people want to feel safe and worry about who's entering and want to know who's coming and going. It just shows that everybody actually gets the concept at like a basic level. It's just some people think of it of their neighborhood and some people think of it as the entire country. And obviously if you're president, if you're Donald Trump, you're thinking about the entire country. But I swear to God, if you want left-wing people to understand why border control is important, you've got to get them to experience it. Like if everybody at Glastonbury experienced it. At the moment, people go to Glastonbury, they wave a Palestinian flag and they say, open borders, one world, one love, no nations, no borders. But they're surrounded by an extremely well-enforced border at Glastonbury. When reform gets in, they should pass a law that says that any music festival, any arts festival that promotes these ideas of no borders, of letting illegal migrants just come in willy-nilly, should have to live by those principles and allow in and house and feed any number of illegal migrants who want to enter that music festival. If Glastonbury was swamped with 50,000 illegal migrants, you know, enticed by the topless women, and also had to feed and house those illegal migrants and put up with their behaviour, I mean, things might get messy. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I don't think it's a good idea for Britain either. But I don't think there'll be many lefty liberals coming out of Glastonbury being like, oh, we need more of those guys. Open borders is a good idea. That's how you do it. Also, Starmer this week said that I'm not British. Let's have a look at this. Why does it keep going?
Literally.
So Starmer this week said that I'm not British. Apparently he doesn't think that indigenous Brits are British at all. Watch this.
Talking about anything other than the cost of living, pride in place, how we stabilise our economy, and how we make the massive argument we need to make, the argument of our time, that we must unite this country, understand that to be British is to be tolerant, reasonable, compassionate and diverse, and fight for it against the toxic division of reform. Every minute we spend not talking and focusing on that is an absolute minute wasted.
So according to Keir Starmer, to be British is to be tolerant, reasonable, and diverse. Like, I don't think I'm any of those things. So am I not British? To be British is to be diverse. Like, what about those of us who aren't diverse? There's quite a few British people still, not as many as there used to be. There's still quite a few people who aren't diverse. They're white. I'm sorry. I know that's a bad word. I know that's wrong. Like, I actually thought I was mixed race because my mum's Anglo and my dad's Saxon. But if Keir Starmer is right and being British is based on values of tolerance, reasonableness, like, then why do all the ancestry sites that link you to people in the past, why do they link you to people based on genealogy? They link you based on genetics. Based on that, not on mimetics, not on ideas. They don't just find random people from 100 years ago who had the same values as you. Oh, look, this person was reasonable and tolerant. That means they're your great-great-granddad. Nah, it's a nonsense. The answer is, of course, that ancestry is actually important and significant in defining a nation, in defining a people, in defining who we are now. That's not stopping our communist overlords from trying to erase us from existence. Well, it's not just Starmer. It's Cambridge University have also decided that British people actually never existed in the first place. Let's bring this up. Here we go. Look at this. Anglo-Saxons aren't real, Cambridge tells students in efforts to fight nationalism. The university aims to dismantle the myths around British and English identities as it seeks to make teaching more anti-racist. I mean, there's this idea that because there was some limited migration within Europe, like different European tribes, like the Frisians, the Jutes, you know, whoever, moving around, the Anglo-Saxons, the Angles, the Saxons, they moved around, they interbred, that because of this, this movement, maybe 5,000 Huguenots came, there's no, you know, defined ethnic identity to anyone in Britain. And because there's no defined ethnic identity, because you might be part Jute and part Frisian as well as part Anglo-Saxon, that means that someone from the Horn of Africa is just as British as anyone, and we have to let them all in. Absolute nonsense. Let's have a little look at some traditional Scottish women who, according to Keir Starmer and Cambridge University, never existed. Not that. That's not. That might be a woman. Where are we? Oh, you know what? It's actually it's a link here. I'm going to bring this up. You know, some people have. I see some streamers. They've got buttons they press and stuff just automatically pops up. I'm going to be like that one day. I'm going to do that. Let's see. Here we go. Let's have a look at these women. I've got absolutely no idea what they're doing there. They're working the Harris Tweed. And that's how stuff used to be made before we got machines to do it. Or children in Bangladesh. But to say that these would preserve their culture as something important. But apparently, you know, because they're white, we have no culture. We have nothing worth preserving. Let's just swamp the islands of Scotland with people from God knows where. It doesn't matter. They can be exterminated. Absolutely mental. If you look at, you know, Cockney culture as well, I love watching the videos of Cockneys from, you know, the 30s and 40s, and you know, there's such a culture. There's such a recognisable, identifiable culture, like a tribe, the Cockney tribe. Like, how come UNESCO aren't interested in preserving the Dagenham River basin? But if they were an Amazonian tribe, people would be falling over themselves to study them. It's ridiculous. Anyway, talking about the erasure of British culture and the communist takeover of Britain, let's have a look at this. So a primary school has punished a child for not taking part in Ramadan. This is Bedfont Primary School, which is in Hounslow in London, although the headmaster seems to think it's in Pakistan. Actually, having driven through Hounslow, I think the headmaster might be right. So this is a letter apparently sent to the child's parents. Let's bring it up. So it says, notification of racist incident. I'm writing to inform you of a racist incident which took place at school today. Our definition of racial harassment is that of the Commission for Racial Equality. Verbal or physical violence which includes attacks on property as well as on the person, which is suffered by individuals or groups because of their colour, race, nationality and ethnic or national origins, and where the victim believes that the perpetrator was acting on racial grounds and or there is evidence of racism. Bit of a mouthful, no idea exactly what that means. During the introduction of our assembly on Ramadan, the child had said on several occasions, "Why do we have to do that? I'm not doing that. You can't make me do that. I'm not singing that. Do I have to? What even is that? If I don't, will you make me?" Oh man, I love this kid. I love how this kid has the same level of cynicism as me, and he's only like 7. This kid's a future leader of this country. That's incredible. Anyway, back to the letter. It says, once we began to practice, the child was then pointing and laughing at other children that were singing, which upset them as a result. But I don't know, pointing and laughing is something that's been done in Britain for centuries, for millennia, unlike singing Ramadan songs. What even is it? What is a Ramadan song? Is it Shania Twain with her hit, "That Don't Oppress Me Much"? Maybe Oasis with cigarettes and strictly no alcohol? Maybe the Bay City Rollers with Ramadang-a-ling-long. Anyway, the letter continues. This will be added to your child's behaviour record and the school log of racist incidents. If further incidents of racism occur, this will be dealt with in accordance with the school's anti-bullying and behaviour policies and may lead to further sanctions for your child. At Bedfont Primary School, we have a no-tolerance approach to any form of racism. Any racist behaviour is unacceptable and contravenes the school's policy, culture and ethos. Well, if we're going to talk about racism and unacceptable behaviour, I think it's racist and unacceptable that a British child is forced to partake in cultures that they don't belong to. That's offensive to me. You wouldn't do it to any other culture. And the school says that it uses the definition of racial harassment set out by the Commission for Racial Equality. But there was no racism in this incident under that definition. There was no attacking a person verbally or physically. Pointing and laughing isn't an attack. That's an enjoyment. Anyway, back to the letter. Please discuss this with your child and help them to understand why this is unacceptable at school. If you would like to discuss this with a member of staff, please make contact via the school office. Yours sincerely, Mr. O'Connor. Well, not to worry. We've got an organisation in the UK that oversees schools and makes sure that standards are enforced. So I'm sure the person heading up that organisation is going to deal with this. Let's have a look at them. This is the head of Ofsted. Oh! This could be awkward. I don't know. This is ominous parallels with non-crime hate incidents that are used by police in Britain to record when somebody does something that isn't a crime but is the wrong opinion, as Keir Starmer would say. And sometimes they're applied to children. Sometimes they're applied, most of the times they're applied to adults. And, you know, just like this incident, the threat isn't that you're going to be slammed in jail, it's that you'll have something recorded against your permanent record. They told this child's parents, you know, this is going to go on his school record, this racism. Same with non-crime hate incidents. They go on your record so something's recorded there. That'll be there. You know, when this child applies to university, there's still going to be this thing. Oh, when he was 7 years old, he pointed and laughed, and he didn't want to take part in the Ramadan experience at school. He didn't want to partake in, you know, and you know, to be honest, by the time this kid goes to university, it's probably going to be a Qatar-funded. Well, they're already Qatar-funded, but it's probably going to be a madrasa. You know, and so you don't want. This kid's probably going to have to claim asylum. Maybe in a free country. Maybe by then Iran will be free. And we're going to be claiming freedom from the British Islamic state in Iran, which is now going to be a free and tolerant country. Great country, Iran. Great people. Highly educated middle class. I think it's going to rise again. But yeah, the whole point of these non-crime hate incidents is that, you know, people can see, HR managers can see, at some point you said a bad thing, you didn't go along with the Ramadan ceremony, you've got the wrong opinion, you didn't agree that Leo Kearse is 100% a genuine woman, and because you said the bad thing, your life now has to be ruined. And you know what sort of people are behind this? It's white left-wing women. Here's a minister in Wales in the Welsh Parliament asking if all children can be forced to wear a hijab. One day this is going to open on the right video.
Literally.
Not today though.
That every minute.
Here we go.
And so in one school, they had a white girl wearing a hijab. First Minister, on Friday, I was with the Ethnic Youth Support Team in Swansea, and they were saying that they would like to have much more support going into schools and education venues in regards to trying to get communities to work together. And so in one school, they had a white girl wearing a hijab, and she walked down the street, and then she came back and she said how different she felt she'd been treated because she was just wearing one piece of headwear that was different to how she would usually dress. And I think these types of things would help children who've never been introduced to other communities or other ethnicities in their lives to try and understand how it is to live in those everyday experiences. So I was wondering if you were able to speak to them. I know they work closely with the Welsh Government in providing them with additional resource to go and do this in other schools across Wales to make sure that...
That's mental. I was wondering if we could get every child to wear a hijab so they can experience the culture. This is in Wales, which is 94% white. So the people in charge want all school children to wear the hijab. Isn't it mad that in Afghanistan, the Taliban have to fight to take control of the country, which is, you know, now pretty much 100% Muslim, you know, because it's been colonized. And the Taliban have to subjugate other Muslims to force every girl and every woman to wear a hijab on threat of being stoned to death. But in Wales, which is 94% white, people are just going to roll over and enforce the wearing of the hijab out of politeness and out of fear of being called racist. Anyway, remember Mizzy? He's this kid who's very emblematic of the decline of the UK. He got millions of likes on TikTok filming himself, harassing people in the street, frightening old women, going into people's houses with a gang of similar youths. You know, here he is going into the driver's cabin of a train.
Hey, how did you get in there? Hey, let me get in here. You outside! Hey, the man, let's go! We outside! Hello, can I call the police? The people on the train! Reality!
Just your average, perfectly integrated second generation, you know. Man, going into a driver's cabin of a train and pressing all the buttons. I don't know if you know much about trains and stuff, but that's not a totally safe and good thing to do. And in an earlier version of Britain, he'd have been launched via trebuchet over the walls of a French castle to annoy them instead, or he would have become a eunuch at the court of Queen Victoria or something like that. But now, because this is modern Britain, his punishment is just people accepting it and people going along with it. And he got, like, you know, some kind of he got some kind of like a £200 fine or something like that. And his punishment was to do an interview with Piers Morgan, and you know, which was just so that Piers Morgan wouldn't be the most irritating person on screen for 5 minutes. But we were told that Mizzy had seen the error of his ways. He'd settled down. He'd had a child. And he was studying. I mean, I can't imagine he's studying. I don't know what it was. Was it rocket science? Was it engineering? Well, anyway, Mizzy is back. Doesn't seem like fatherhood has calmed him down. I'm not sure what he was studying, but it seems to be how to be even more of an annoying prick. Let's have a look at him now.
outside, we're in the green of woods. Imagine having gangrene on your wood. Crazy. Yes, brother. How are we today? Riding bikes to places. You know the vibes. Oh. Oh. Riding bikes to places. Everyone go stream fight night. You know the vibes. Come on, bro. Riding bikes to places. Oh. Oh, my wheelies are not there today. Oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Riding bikes to places. You know the vibes. Okay, cool. The wheelies are getting better again. I missed. Oh, shit. Sorry, I can't ride in here. You need to go out now, please. Well, I can't ride in here. Oh, please. Yes, brother. Riding back to places. Bro. What's going on? Come off my back, bro. Man's coming out, bro. Bro. Listen. Bro, listen. What's going on? That's what I'm doing. I have to get out, bro. Get out. Are you an NPC or are you a civilian? You don't even work here. You're moving mad. You're moving charged like Duracell batteries. Riding bikes to places. And again. Whoo. Okay, I'm coming out. Chill. What are you doing, brother? Leave it. Get up. Well, it's not that deep. Call the police. I'm coming out, brother. Call the police. Cool, I'm coming out. Call the police. I'm coming out, let's go. Okay. I'm coming out, bro. Push me out, bro. I'm coming out. What's your problem, brother? Why are you so hurt? What's going on? Did someone affect your day today? Oh, fuck, man. Bro, you're working for minimum wage. Why are you getting hurt? Yes, brother. Sure, man. Yes, brother. You're nothing bad, mate. Okay, get off me then. Brother, why do you think you're a little bad man? You're not, bro. Get out. You're not a bad man, bro. Just get the fuck out, man. But you're not a bad man, bro. Get out, man. You're not a bad man, bro. Get out, man. You're not a bad man, bro. Stop talking, get out. You're not a bad man, bro. You're not a bad man, bro. You're not a bad man, bro. That's out of the shot, bro. You're not a bad man, bro. You're not a bad man, bro. Listen. Hey, come back here. You're not a bad man. You're not a bad man. Hey, you're not a bad man. Riding bikes to places. Everyone goes street fight night out on all streaming platforms. You know.
Oh my god. So, straight away, I mean, he's nearly knocked an old lady over. I feel bad for that old lady because she could be racist. She could be one of the people who didn't want Mizzy in Britain anyway, but she still has to suffer Mizzy being there. Honestly, you know, the people I feel sorry for are the racists. Like, nobody does anything to stop him because they know that if they do, they'll be the ones who get locked up in jail. You know, I guess the only good thing you can say about Mizzy is that he's targeting the same sort of wimpy white establishment ponces sometimes. Not in this case. But a lot of times, you know, he runs into people's houses. He targets the wimpy white people who created the social environment of fear of looking racist that emboldens him. Nobody can stop him because if they stop him, he can be like, you're racist. And then it's like, oh, he called me racist. You know, and he also exposes the lie of critical race theory because he says he's only targeted because he's black. I mean, it's more likely that he gets away with it because he's black. But this is, you know, this is what we're talking about. When people say, like when Jim Ratcliffe says, mass immigration isn't working, and then people say, well, you know, maybe they don't fit in when they first come here, but the next generation are just as British as anyone else. It's like, no, he's not. He's very, very, very annoying. I know we've always had annoying people in Britain, but this is next level annoying. And it's not him that gets banned. Reform. Let's get this up. I'm going to pull this up. Reform have been banned from a university debating society. Let's get this up. Here we go. What the hell? What's going on there? Oh, God. Let's get this up. Why is the link not coming? Thank you, by the way, to the person who gave me a free, I won't name them because I don't want them to get tarnished by association. But one of my patrons gave me a free subscription to the Telegraph, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I don't need to paste stuff into, you know, the archive. I can just read it like a human being. Yeah, Reform have been banned from Bangor University Debating Society. That's Bangor in Wales. Well, they've got universities in Wales now. It's quite progressive. So let's read this. University Debating Society bans Reform MP from giving talk. Bangor students refused to host Sarah Pochin despite campus free speech law. So, a university debating society has banned a Reform UK MP from speaking to students. Bangor University's Debating and Political Society refused to host an event with Sarah Pochin, who's the MP for Runcorn and Helsby, claiming that it was keeping hate out of her universities. The university insisted that it was politically neutral and supports freedom of speech, and said it had no role in the society's decision. So universities are required to promote the importance of free speech by the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Act. Miss Pochin had planned to visit the university with Jack Anderton, a party advisor who's touring universities to speak to students, but the society declined to welcome them to the French university because of claimed racism, transphobia or homophobia displayed by the members of Reform UK. I don't think I've heard any of those from Oh my god, why is this crashing? Why is this crashing? Just cause I got a website open that's got one advert on it. We stand by this decision as a committee. We have zero tolerance for any form of racism, transphobia or homophobia displayed by the members of Reform UK. Their approach to the lives of others is antithetical to the values of welcoming and fair debate that our society has upheld for 177 years. We are proud to be the first of the debating unions to take a stand against Reform UK. We strongly implore our fellow societies to join us in keeping hate out of our universities. Ms Pochin said, so much for free speech in our universities. How can Bangor University's Debating Society be afraid of debate? Professor James Orr, who's an advisor to Nigel Right, is that working? I'm so sorry it went quiet. Oh my god. Well, basically, if people can't express their concerns democratically, they'll express them some other way. Man, I'm so sorry this mic is cutting out. It's so frustrating. This whole, my whole tech setup is like this house of cards with like, you know, if bits crap out, I don't know. It looks like it's working now. Anyway, before I go, this hasn't been the smoothest. I've just got a couple of things to talk about. We've got a trans school shooter in Canada. I've got a couple of videos where leftists say how much they hate white people, and I've got Sajid Javid's autobiography. Let's do the trans school shooter. Now, I'll just pull up the link. Here we go. Oh, come on. How about go? Right, hopefully this isn't going to make my system fall over. This is just going to stay upright. Okay. You know what? I'm going to get the other links sorted as well. So I can just skip between them seamlessly without disturbing anybody. Is it going to load? You know what? Maybe getting two Chrome windows open at the same time is a bad idea. How do people stream so seamlessly? I see other people do it, and I want that streaming set up for myself. So, there's another trans school shooting this week in Canada. I mean, it was reported as female to start off with, but we kind of knew. When they said female, it might not be a female. You know, why are there so many school shootings by women now? What changed? They seem to increase, you know, around about the same time as women grew penises. And as it was in this incident, this was a school shooting by, who knows? I mean, the media had so much trouble trying to describe it. Look at this guy.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay. And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship to the...
That includes the deceased.
So it was a gun person. A gun person. We've never actually heard this before. It's always gunman. And of course, you know, with the media, the utmost importance isn't with the victims, it's with correctly gendering the murderer. And when I say correctly, I mean incorrectly.
Yeah, my question is, we've heard all around the world reports coming out from different media, not local but world, and we've heard people from Tumbler Ridge, actual people that know the shooter, and
what the fuck? Oh my god. It crashed.
all saying that this person is transgender. Why is the RCMP not speaking to this? Why are we hiding this from the public?
Well, first off, thank you for your question. We're not hiding it. In fact, you're the first media to ask the question. I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly.
Unfortunately, we've heard a lot of transgender and masculine shootings. Do you think there's a correlation there?
It's too early to say whether that has any correlation in this investigation. I think it's important to recognize that this investigation is still in its infancy. We have seen lockdown
oh my god,
and the residents.
This thing can't play one video? The fuck is going on?
Evidence and talk to.
Fuck me. What the fuck? I had a computer 20 years ago that could play a fucking video and have something else open at the same time. Now you spend you get the best computer in the whole fucking shop and it can't play a video. What is going on with this? There's... man. You know what? I might actually get an Apple Mac. I might get... because I just know an Apple Mac, even though like my testosterone is going to like drop by 140 nanograms. When I do stuff like this, it'll just work. With Windows, you've always got to go in, like hack the command shell, do some sort of weird settings to get it to work. Yeah, Jesus wept. You're right to be upset. I'm so close to throwing this laptop out that window. You've no idea. You've no idea. Oh my God. Maybe I'll get an axe and destroy it live on air. God, I wish I'd bought a new laptop last year. Or a new, some sort of system that can handle, more than one thing happening at a time. Maybe I could run it off a mobile phone. How come mobile phones can have like a 1,000 things open at the same time? And it just works. But a PC, you want to open like Microsoft Solitaire and Notes. Oh, that uses up 3 kilobytes of the system. Everything must crash. Everything has to crash. Disgusting. And the BBC, let's get back to this guy. The school shooter. The BBC referred to the trans shooter as male. Let's see if we can play this.
Gunned down 8 people and injured 27 others. He was born a biological male and transitioned to a female.
According to investigators, the former student of Tumbler Ridge, who dropped out 4 years ago, had a long gun and a modified handgun. Police say 2 victims were found dead at the suspect's home, her mother and stepbrother.
Gunned down 8 people.
Let's go see if oh my. So let's see if it, is it okay to just have Google open? You obviously can't play a video. So bad it's actually funny, like a drunk falling downstairs. Thank you. But I want this to be a slick operation. I'm trying to do everything right. The amount of time I've spent reading stuff about how to set up streams. Why isn't there just a thing? Why can't I just buy a thing? I want to grab that camera off its hinges and just show you all the clobber on my desk. I've got an 8M Mini Pro ISO. I've got a Zoom F6. I've got a Shure mic. This is the same mic that Joe Rogan uses. I've got all these wires. Every single USB port on my laptop has got stuff coming in and out of it. You're going to smash your own computer. Oh, God. Oh, my God. But yeah, the state of the West in 2026. Like this trans shooter. The state of the West in 2026. You can get shot in a school shooting. And then you're shot by... Actually, you know what? Oh. Is this working? I'll just go back to cam only. There we go. The state of the West in 2026. You can get shot by a transgender man in a school shooting. Then police arrive in a trans pride painted police car. You're taken to a hospital with trans pride murals and pronoun badges. That's like picking up victims of a white supremacist terror attack in a Panzer tank and taking them to a hospital decorated like Colditz with all the nurses wearing Nazi uniforms. And why are there so many school shootings committed by transgender people? We're told that transgender people make up a vanishingly small proportion of the population, so everyone should stop focusing on them. But it's not a vanishingly small percentage of the number of school shootings. In 2023, there was the Covenant school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, and the perpetrator was Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old who identified as a transgender man, used he, him pronouns, but was born a woman. And Hale, a former student, killed 6 people, 3 children and 3 adults, and was then shot by police. And is that a result of pumping hormones into a female? In 2025, the Annunciation Catholic school shooting, there was Robin Westman, a 23-year-old trans woman, so, you know, a bloke who transitioned to being a woman, killed 2 children, injured 18 others at a Catholic Church-affiliated school. And a manifesto revealed struggles with gender identity, including regret over transitioning. In 2024, the Abundant Life Christian school shooting in Wisconsin. So there was Natalie Rupnow, a 15-year-old who identified as non-binary, used they, she pronouns, killed 2 people, a teacher and a student, and injured 6. In 2024, Perry High School shooting in Iowa, Dylan Butler, a 17-year-old who identified as gender fluid and non-binary, he, they pronouns, killed a 6th grader and injured 7. And, you know, part of it could be pumping hormones into teenagers. You know, if you pump testosterone into teenagers, if you pump any hormones, affect the hormonal balance, you're going to affect things like aggression, the impulse control, things like that. But we've also got to recognise that gender ideology has become a dangerous cult. There's this narrative that transgender people are constantly under attack. And they also dehumanise any critics of gender ideology as TERFs. You can see the level of violence directed at people like J.K. Rowling and the authorities, the establishment. Don't do anything to push back in it or say, you know, they basically allow it. It's justified. And look at people like David Tennant, celebrities describing criticism of gender ideology as literal transgenocide. So transgender people are painted as the eternal victims of this vicious, evil, patriarchal, TERF establishment that's genociding them. There's no self-reflection. There's no call for understanding. I mean, when you have such a victim mentality, when you're told you're the victim of a genocide, of course, things like slaughtering your enemies are going to feel like they're justified. And also, we need to bring back bullying in schools. Like, all this stuff is just happening because we don't have those 80s Biff Tannen-style jocks bullying kids into being normal. Like, bullies were just doing the corrective coercion that society should be doing. If kids don't get bullied early on, they'll grow up to be spiteful communist mutants. Kids need boundaries, and school bullies provide those boundaries and enforce them. You know, it's like they work like a vaccine. You get a taste of the real world to stop you, you know, being a fanny when you go out into the real world. Right, how long have I done? Oh my God. Thank you for staying with me, Woodulus. Thank you for staying with me. I apologise for the calamity that this stream has been. But yeah, let's have a look at how much leftists hate white people. Let's have a look at this. Not this one. He hates white people too. Right, where did it go?
I don't think...
Oh my God, I've gone back to the start. Here we go. I need buttons to press.
Hey, how did you get there?
Woodulus says... Woodulus says, my dad used to brag that he was the school bully. Yeah, this is why. This is why, you know, when people are trying to dig out Nigel Farage, be like, Nigel Farage is a school bully. It's like, well, good. You probably need somebody who's capable of bullying to try and get anything done in this country, to try and get the civil service to do anything. So yeah, it's a good thing that he's a bully. Hope he starts bullying on day one. Gets right into Whitehall. Gets in about them. Gives all the top mandarins wedgies. Anyway, look how much this left-wing politician hates white people.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided.
So let's stop that guy. That's mad. Imagine if a white politician said that. This is like, we've got to ask ourselves, are non-whites going to take over the West? I mean, this non-white guy thinks so. This is Democrat Representative Gene Wu. He's certain that Asians in America have the same oppressors as African Americans. I think if you look at the crime statistics, you'll find that white people aren't the main group subjecting Asians to violent crime. But Gene Wu literally says that all this effort has been put into stopping Asians and African Americans and Latinos and whoever uniting and discovering that they've got a common oppressor. And he then says that if they did, the day that they realise they've got this common oppressor, they can unite and take over the country. So actually, it sounds like it was a good idea to stop all these different demographic groups uniting. I mean, let's not forget that America is a nation that was founded by Europeans. Yes, it's a nation of migrants, immigrants, but the culture, the values, the people that built America first and made it great, that created the sort of constitution and the political ideas that make it function really well as a society and as a place to do business. They were Europeans, and that's not to disparage any immigrants. I'm definitely not saying that they aren't as American as anybody, but there's a reason that Jean Wu's parents or grandparents or whoever went to America instead of Liberia or Haiti. And why is he talking about the Latino community, the Asian community, the African American community, the idea that everybody's separate in little silos defined by their ancestry and genetics? I mean, that's a nonsense. There's far more mixing and mingling. People group themselves more by values than by race, despite the left's attempts to make race the most important thing, the only signifier in society. Why is Jean Wu trying to racialize society like this? And also, look how much this other left-wing politician hates white people. Watch this guy.
Be able to come before you and say, I actually lost white population in my community. I lost them. They left. They left. I didn't ask them why. They left. So if you see 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 whites in my neighborhood, they're passing through. But that's on a serious note. We got 13,000 black elected officials in this country. We've had mayors, we've had governors, we have city council members. We need to...
I mean, that's interesting. He's happy that white people are leaving. I mean, who do you think's going to pay for the taxes for all your socialist nonsense? But imagine if a white politician spoke about black people like this. He says, I have the distinct honour to say that we lost the white population. He says, I have the distinct honour to say that we lost white population. This is the former New York representative Charles Barron, a Democrat politician. I mean, this is the language of genocide. Listen to the cheers and look at that woman doing the finger snapping. You know, some university campuses have banned finger snapping in case clapping, the noise of clapping triggers post-traumatic distress in students who've been exposed to clapping, and they've replaced it with finger snapping because that's less triggering. But what if somebody's been sexually assaulted by a jazz singer and they look around and everybody's doing that? I don't know, this just shows like the left are so focused on race and they want to eliminate white people. They openly say it. They don't know that it's a bad thing. They don't know that racial genocide is a bad thing. Anyway, before I go, let's look at Sajid Javid's autobiography, because this sort of had a bit of a blowback this week, and God, I do apologize for the catastrophe with the tech this week. Undoubtedly it's going to get worse, but this is Sajid Javid's autobiography. Sajid Javid was a cabinet member in the Tory party. But in Sajid Javid's autobiography, which is out this week, and is apparently quite good, he speaks very directly, but in this, he speaks of the racism he endured as a young man living in Woking, which coincidentally is where my dad is from. So this is it, the chapter 1. So he's opening strong. Says, run, P word, run. I'm not getting banned from YouTube. 1975, Rochdale. The rumour was that you could tell the kind of skinhead a person was by the colour of their laces. As young as 5 years old, I knew to check their Dr. Martens. Then I would know if I had to run. We were told that black laces were safe. Red laces indicated that someone was a supporter of the National Front and was probably racist. Yellow laces were the worst. They meant that someone particularly hated Pakistanis. My 9-year-old brother Tariq was theoretically in charge of the walk to school. But he and my second oldest brother, Khalid, would often race ahead, leaving my cousin Rosina and me, both 5 at the time, to meander behind and make our way to school. It was just the two of us creating games and ducking in and out of the path. We weren't scared of ogres under bridges or stray dogs. We were only scared of the skinheads, who gathered in the subway under the dual carriageway. The tunnel was dimly lit, and the often blinking strip lighting added to the sense of menace, and so on and so forth. Which, you know, obviously it's terrible. that anybody's exposed to racism or violence, or, you know, especially kids. I mean, Jesus. And also Sajid Javid, great guy, you know. I think he's, I think, what do you say? He's off to buy some laces. No jokes allowed. You know, but let's have a reminder of the horrors that have happened in places like Rochdale that Sajid Javid is talking about to white British girls. And let's remember, well, this guy, the composite guy, has posted a reminder that Sajid Javid, while he was serving as Home Secretary at the time, wrote a personal letter to the ringleader of the Rochdale grooming gang, assuring him he would not be deported. And Javid's, you know, heritage and growing up in Rochdale might have influenced this. So let's read from this piece. The truth was revealed when a barrister representing Rauf in his battle against deportation read out a document which she said then Home Secretary Sajid Javid wrote to Aziz on Halloween 2018. It revealed that Aziz renounced his Pakistani citizenship on July 13th, 2018, 5 days before a hearing before the Court of Appeal where he, Rauf and Khan lost their battle against being stripped of their British nationality. As a result, the Home Secretary has decided not to make a deprivation order in respect of you, the letter went on, meaning Aziz retained his British citizenship. The Home Office last night failed to deny that Aziz was therefore no longer facing deportation. So this guy who's committed one of the worst crimes in British history, these crimes that are committed against, you know, young British girls, the Pakistani rape gangs, this guy isn't deported. The Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, made sure of that. You know, and I'm not saying that Sajid Javid didn't experience racism. I'm not saying it's not bad, but there's a context that's been hidden from us. This is part of our hidden history. Let's just see. This is someone's account of growing up in Woking. Surrey, less than a mile. So this is somebody's account of growing up in Woking. I was born in Woking, Surrey, less than a mile from the site of the Shah Jahan Mosque, the first built in Britain. Growing up in Woking, my friends and I soon learnt that the Pakistani community acted differently to us. They operated like a clan, like a gang. If you crossed one, you would find a dozen brothers and cousins waiting for you on the other side of the school gates. Waiting for you outside the school gates. As English people who had small, quite independent families, this clan loyalty and mindset was nearly impossible to contend with. Turn the other cheek, my mother used to say. Never easy, though, when you've seen your friend have his teeth kicked in by a mob for a minor instance of a perceived disrespect. We used to play pool at the Planets in Woking Town Centre after school. However, it wasn't long before this was taken over by the Pakistani clans from Maybury. They'd pelt us with pool balls and intimidate us to leave. It was their territory now. So spare me your victimhood, Sajid Javid. And yeah, we've seen that happen on a bigger scale across Britain. Anyway, before I go, I know I keep saying before I go, this is definitely the last thing I'm going to talk about. This is a Chinese pig drone. And this is a bit more fun. Let's have a look. That's not the pig drone.
In their lives to try and...
That is not the pig drone. That is a left-wing politician. There's a difference. Although pig drone would be a good nickname for her. Let's see if we can get to the right thing. So this is a farmer who decided to use a drone to transport an animal, a pig, across mountainous terrain, but the drone hit power lines, and as a result the pig got stuck and thousands of people were left without electricity. A team of 12 specialists had to work for nearly 12 hours to restore power. This happened on January 24th in Tiefo town in Sichuan. No human injuries, and the pig was brought down safely. It's alive and well, just a bit shaken up, and probably, you know, it's being battered and deep fried as we speak. But look at these drones. Look at the size. Did you see the size of that drone? Let's bring that drone back up. This is a drone that can carry a pig. This is a drone that can carry a pig. This is insane. China is so far ahead of us in tech like this. Like, all right, they haven't got the power line detection technology absolutely perfect yet, but like they can use drones to carry pigs through the sky as a form of transport straight into the power lines to be barbecued a bit early. This is going to be a game changer. That could be a person. That could be a person getting picked up by that massive drone. We could be traveling to work in these drones. like in, you know, like in the Jetsons, like in sci-fi. Anyway, folks, I apologize for the tech falling over. I think the mistake I made was trying to open a Chrome window while I had another program running. I'm expecting my modern laptop to be able to cope with that. Maybe I'll move to Apple, because I understand that even though it's pink, is it pink? It's got curved edges, you know? I don't like that. I want jaggy bits on my laptops. Jaggy bits you can electrocute yourself on. It's, you know, it's a man's tool. But if I go to Apple, it'll probably just work. And I won't even know why it's working. It'll just work. It won't be like a PC where you have to tinker under the hood like you're a mechanic in the 30s. It just works. But I hope you have a great week. And I'm going to do a public live stream on Tuesday, I've decided. Because there's loads I didn't get through today. I got so much more to talk about. Anna Sarwar. People wanting to ban Twitter. The Online Safety Act was drafted by a paedophile. There's so much to talk about. And hopefully it'll work more smoothly next time. Okay. Thanks for listening. I love you.